Okay, it's not often that I film when I'm working, but I've just decided today that I'll film a bit of the grouting. So I've got all the grouting tools, but I prefer to do it just with a plumbing spatula. Sorry, not plumbing, a plaster spatula. I'm not really a big fan of the rubberized ones that you use for grouting, which are these ones. They're flexible. Don't really like those. I do have a float, but with the float, you float it on and you tend to get it all over the tiles. So I try to keep the mess to a minimum. So I just apply it where it's needed, and I push it in really good. Push it right in. I was doing brickwork and I toothed something out and I needed to fill it, and then I'd be doing something similar with what they call a Frenching trowel. So I'd be pushing it into the joints. So yeah, you just got to make sure you get it all the way in there. But I can keep that a lot cleaner. I can keep it a lot cleaner than I can with the floating trowel. It's not a race to get as much on the wall as quickly as you can. It's about getting it right. But yeah, I can keep this, like my brickwork, I like to keep anything I'm doing, any job I'm doing, clean as I go. And the tiling's no exception. So, as I was saying in the last video, I kept some of that blue tape, and this is what I've done, because I don't want this lighter grey falling onto this dark grey grout, because it's extremely hard to get it off. If it happens to dry, it'll discolour the grout, and then I've got to rake it out and redo it. So yeah, that's all I needed to do, really. And that tape's ideal for that type of job. You don't really need to use new stuff. There's no bleed through on it. So now I've seen a couple of ways that people finish off their grouting joints. A lot of guys will just use their float and get a smooth finish. That's all good if your tiles are perfect. So there's spots in my tiling where it's not so perfect. So what I tend to do, and I can't demonstrate it at the moment because this stuff's just a little bit wet, but I just tend to run my finger across the joint. And I don't mind that little bit of a hollow in the grout. I've always done my tiling like that, so why stop now? If I go with a different type of grouting method, then it's going to look odd to the rest of the house. I'm going to stick with what I've always done. There's no right or wrong. If you like something, provided you do it right, it's okay. It's like with brickwork, you can have either rake joints or rounded joints or struck joints or no joints. It's up to the individual what their taste is. And sometimes it will depend on the style of brick. Sometimes it will depend on the colour of the brick. Some people like neutral mortar, some people like coloured mortar in their brickwork. So, you know, it all comes down to personal taste, and this is the way I choose to do it. And I don't really have to worry about people commenting because I have very few viewers on my channel anyway, so I don't have to worry about getting bad feedback. I'd like to wish that by the end of not 2022, but the end of 2023, I could get up to 30 subscribers after 9 years. So we'll have to work on that one a little bit. So I didn't mix up too much grout either, because to be honest, I've never bought the Dunlop brand before, so I have no idea of its drying characteristics. They normally say that it is pliable for between 10 to 15 minutes, and then you at least want to have float troweled it and smoothed it up, or finger jointed like I did. Otherwise, what happens is, if the grout gets too dry, and this is the same with brickwork, if the grout gets too dry and you try to joint it, you end up getting dark marks. You end up getting dark marks in the grout. Now, why? I'm not exactly sure, but it don't look good. And I did get caught out in the other bathroom where I grouted something and then got sidetracked by a phone call, and I come back and the grout had gone off, and I tried to moisten it with a wet cloth, but it was still a little too late. So so you've got to do this, you've got to be on this. You can only mix up what you think you can get applied within 10 to 15 minutes and get it all jointed. So I'm just about done here. Yeah, try and get this last one done, scrape up enough of this to finish it off. It's always the way though. It's even the same with brickwork, you know, you always need that last little bit of mud, or bricky's mud we call it, that last little bit of cement to finish off, and you don't often have it. So you sort of try and search around the base of the brickwork for anything that might have dropped onto the ground earlier, and try and use that up. But I got lucky here, so I've basically completed from the centre of there all the way down, up the side of the window, up to the second tile, and out to the second tile with the exemption or exception, whichever word you want to use, they're both correct, of that last joint. So we'll go and mix up another batch, and we will we'll continue on. But I'll show you what I mean by finger joints. So what I do is, I've got a bit of water here. Sorry for that camera work there. So I just wet your finger. and I'll just run my finger through the joint like that. Sometimes you can gain a bit of grout or brickies mud, like when you're jointing, because obviously you're removing grout from the joint. So but what you want to do, you want to keep that finger wet, or if it's brickwork, you want to keep that tool wet, and that will stop the mortar or the grout from discolouring. A little bit on that tile there, a little bit too much on that tile. So I've got a grout up under here, so we'll keep this video running. So just to make it nice and neat, what I've been doing under all the areas that I have done, I've grouted so far that has trim, I grout up underneath here, because you're supposed to use a 10mm trim for a 10mm tile, but it doesn't always work. I think I've explained in some of the videos before that what tends to happen, it depends on the brand of the tile too. Not always on the back is the tile stepped. And what I mean by stepped is, let's try and find one here. No, bad examples. We'll find one. Alright, now we can look at the edge of this. So you can see on the edge there, it has a slight step. Now on some tiles that step is greater than others. The ones that are generous, a 10mm trim will go straight in there. But if you've got ones like this, where it's very, very shallow, you really struggle to get it inside a 10mm trim. So what the tiling store told me to do was just use a 12mm and just stick a bit of grout up underneath there, and you'll never pick it. So let's get back down here. I'm just going along. I'm not worried about getting a bit of grout on that timber, because I've got to remove that timber anyway, and it'll just wipe off. So it's no biggie. We've got a rag here. There we go. We can just wipe that off, and a little bit in the gaps there. We'll get that out later. And the main objective is to get this stuff on the wall, obviously, before it dries. So that is it, guys. That's all the grout I currently have. So just push that up in there, and that hides all your little rough edges on your tile from your cuts. And hopefully, if there's any chips that are sticking down past the tile itself, they will be covered by the grout. So that's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with what we got here at the moment. So yeah, it dried really nice. So the colour, I know it's very dark in this room. It's always dark in my house, and I do apologise for that. But I promise, when I get back onto my other projects outside on the camper trailer and the cars, we will have fantastic light. But this is the grout that I put in yesterday, and you can see that's finger jointed as well. That's just had my finger run down there, and the finish is quite nice. And the colours turned out really good. Yeah, I was very happy with it. you can see the comparison there. That was the first one I bought, which I said was almost, it's supposed to be a light grey, but it's almost white if you compare it to that PVC pipe. And then this is the one we're now using. So I just put a bit over that next to this so we could get a good colour comparison there. So there was a huge difference between the Magellan grey and the light grey. So I'm glad I went with the Magellan. I'm happy. I'm happy. I haven't laid the remaining tiles yet, the wall tiles and the floor tiles, but I have completed 95% of the wall grouting. So just a quick look. You'll see marks on there, but that's the grey lead outlines of the shower and the bottom of the vanity, and you know, I didn't, when I wiped it down, I didn't, I tried not to wipe them off because that's already my reference points. So yeah, but I'm pretty happy with the way it's come up. So it looks neat. It looks a lot better than the other bathroom, admittingly. So this all turned out nice here. So you know, the tiles don't butt together, they're left short, and then I've just angled that on the corner, and that's turned out pretty nice. I've still got, as you know, still got that top two tiles to put in, and everything around the perimeter and the base. Now I did go and recut that problem tile, which has turned out really well, but there, as I mentioned, you know, there was going to be some cutting of the angled cuts. It was more or less cleaning up the edges more than actually cutting anything off it. I just had to slightly change the angles, which was nothing, you know, a mil or 2 mil to get it all to line up pretty good. I think it's pretty good when it's laid out dry, but laying it out dry on a flat surface and actually angling everything in on wet tile cement is another thing. So all I can do is hope for the best and hope it all works out. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. So I've gone around and wherever there was a little bit of extra tile cut out around fittings, I've grouted that in, and I will put some silicone, or silicone, however you want to say it. I just say silicone. So I'll yeah, I'll just do that around those, and it was the same with this one too. Added a bit to the top there, and as you see, the plate covers it perfectly, and the plate's actually got a rubber O-ring in it to seal, and that pulls up really tight when you wind the shower rose neck on there. But still, I'm going to seal all that up, and I'll do the same with these. I've done it with the PVC, so that's all done. Down here, I've got, these are all the tiles that are going to go underneath the shower screen, which obviously is a continuation of the floor. And then, as I mentioned in the last video, we have what I'm referring to as my spacer tile, and then I've got my top tile. So in total, with the 3 tiles there and a bit of grout, that gives me just over 30 millimeters of height, which is perfect for an angle to run towards the drain. So when I went to the tile place and I explained that I was going to tile over tiles in the other bathroom, they said, okay, well, you need this this special grip adhesive that you have to paint on. You can't just lay straight on tiles, because what will happen is it will lift. So they sold me a 5 kilo bucket, which I know there's a smaller one available, but they sold me that, so I took it. But yeah, so it's very grippy. It's almost like a sandpaper finish now. So this is the one that will go on the floor, and then obviously I mud up the back of that, and then that gets laid to that, and then I mud up this one, and that gets laid to that, and then there should be no issue with any of the tile cement not sticking, because I've done it by the book. Most people will say, don't listen to tile joints, they're just trying to sell you extra stuff you don't need. I found it worked pretty good in the other bathroom over those glazed tiles. Now they might work different with these. These aren't glazed, these are a flat finish. But you know what? I got the stuff, so I'm going to use it just to be on the safe side. It doesn't hurt. So yeah. So my next job, I'm not doing no more today. I didn't sleep well and I'm tired, and I'm not going to do any more today. But I am going to plan for tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to get back into finishing off the remainder of the tiling up the top there. And I would say I'll get that done fairly quickly. Won't get grouted, but it'll you know, we've got to wait a couple of days obviously for it to go off, and then we'll grout it. And then yeah, if I get all that finished in a reasonable amount of time, I'll jump down and start on this and see how far we get. I should be able to do all the tiling in a day. It's not difficult up the top there, that's not difficult to lay. This is a little more intricate because unfortunately with those little clamps that I bought, which has made the whole job so easy, I can use them on certain parts of the floor here, but when I get into the corners where the tiles have to slope away from each other, I can't use them. So I've got the four corners where I can't use them. So any cuts that are in those corners, which could be up to maybe 6 cuts or something, so 12 cuts in total I think it is, I can't use them. I've got 2, 4, 5, 6, so I've got 6 tiles that I can use it on, so it's sort of not really worth getting those out again. So it's all going to have to be laid by eye, using a level and straight edges and whatever else I've got, and just take my time and get it right. So yeah, it's I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the way it's come up. You always pick a few little things that you're not quite happy with, but you know, it is what it is. I've got a spot right down there in the corner. You might not see it because it's dark, but I need to add a little bit more of the dark grey grout to that. I've got a spot just here, right on this trim, where I need to put a little bit more grout. So I've been around and I've had a bit of a look, and I know I've got one other spot here somewhere that requires a little bit more grout as well. I'm not sure which one it is, but there is one more spot here that just requires a little bit of grout, and yeah, it should be right to go. I had to recut that corner tile as well, so because it was a little bit long, and as I pointed out, I had that gap up against the wall, and yeah, that one was just sitting a little bit too far back, so it wasn't in line with the other 2 tiles that run in along here. So I've just trimmed that back. Like I said, it looks a lot worse than it really is, because by the time you set your gap and then you get your mud in and you grout it and stuff like that, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So yeah, started on those that top row of tiles. So I've worked my way all around. It's not too bad. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Got my supervisor here with me today. Just going to take a bit of a look at some of the tiling work I've been doing over the last 2 days. So, as you can see, I've got all the tiles in around the top now, yet to be grouted. I still need to wait probably another day. It's only been about 18 hours or something since I laid them, so yeah, just going to let them go off for a bit longer. Ended up putting the top and the side tile back in there, so that's the same deal. Got to let that dry a little bit more and then I can grout that. Started on the floor yesterday, just using up what tile cement I had left over from putting that top row in. So that's as far as we got, but so far everything looks really nice. A lot nicer than the other bathroom. So the lines are somewhat straight compared to the other bathroom. So yeah, all going well at the moment. I've opted to put some of these grey tiles, these 300 by 100s on the sill here. I had to, in order to do this, I've had to change something around. I was going to run another piece of this aluminium trim, but it sort of looked funny having two pieces of that so close to each other. So what I've done is I found a wider piece of architrave. So I think it's 68mm. And I've had to bring that down to about 58 or 56 or something like that. So I trimmed that back, and what that does is it brings the very edge of the architrave up to the top of the tiles, and it actually looks really good. It looks really good. I have to take 35mm off the ends of these for it to work, because when you're using a smaller piece of architrave in conjunction with a bigger piece, the corners usually squared out a little bit, usually comes up 35mm, and then you start your miter cut. So yeah, that's going to look alright in there. Just a little feature. I think I've got the tiles, I might as well use it, or use them. Not much else has happened in here. So I will recommence tiling tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, I think. Wednesday, and yeah, I should have all this finished. Should have it all finished, and what I will be able to do whilst the floor is drying in this area, I can grout pretty much this half of the bathroom and work on all the small jobs, bring that other architrave back in because it's still drying. It's obviously been, you know, I've had to seal it with some varnish, so that's still a little tacky. So I'll bring that back in, we'll fit that all up, get the rest of these architraves nailed in properly, and then what I'm going to do with these tiles is I'm actually just going to glue them. I'll probably just glue them in with silicone, to be honest, and then I'll grout as normal. The good thing is we don't need really a bed joint of any type under that. I can just glue it straight down onto that timber, and I want to use silicone because if I ever decide that I want to change these, I can peel them off, and I've kept the original piece of architrave that I took off here, so I can always change it back. I don't think I will change it, but you never know. So we'll just keep all those bits and pieces in the shed, and yeah, see how we go. I'm thinking of doing the same thing here with these grey tiles. They fit perfect. I don't have to cut anything. 3 go in there perfectly, so obviously it's a 900 window. Here I can't, well I could, but I don't have any more of the larger architrave to go in there. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to run a piece of this aluminium trim in along here. And the reason I've opted to do it here is because with this soap bottle sitting on the timber work, the soap tends to have a reaction with the varnish, and it peels, and then what happens is the soap gets into the timber, and every time you go to wipe the windowsill down, it gets real soapy. So I want to do away with that and have tiles here. Just easier to look after and maintain. So again, I don't really need anything. I don't really need tile cement. I can just put a couple of blobs of silicon on those tiles, glue them down, job done, and just put some grout in at the back and some grout in between the joints, and we're done. Started on the window, just repainting it as I mentioned I would. Just got the first coat on. You can see a little bit of brown poking through here and there, but I'll give this another coat in the morning. The rest of the window's taped up. I can't see this evening, it's a little dark, so we'll wait till we can see, and hopefully tomorrow we should have all the window painted too.